your name. I heard praise in Ghadir, my heart for you was safe. In Ghadir, my heart for you was safe. From my father Ali and my mother Ali, from my father Ali and my mother Ali. Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي. أنا لا أبوح بسره وأنا المقاد لأمره. أنا لا أبوح بسره وأنا المقاد لأمره. أجد النوال ببحره، أجد النوال ببحره. أنا روحي علي ودليلي علي. أنا روحي علي ودليلي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي. علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي. When I see your shrine I know that I'm home. You're the king of kings, Najaf's your throne. When I see your shrine I know that I'm home. You're the king of kings, Najaf's your throne. With you by my side I'm never alone. With you by my side I'm never alone. Walking Quran Ali in my adhan Ali. Walking Quran Ali in my adhan Ali. Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي. مولاي وروحي ومهجتي لك كيف أوصف لوعتي. مولاي وروحي ومهجتي لك كيف أوصف لوعتي. أفهل رضيت بحسرتي، أفهل رضيت بحسرتي. حسراتي علي عبراتي علي، حسراتي علي عبراتي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي. All our hearts your love struggle to contain. To describe your worth words can't explain. All our hearts your love struggle to contain. To describe your worth words can't explain. Your mercy we seek ya Abul Hasnain. Your mercy we seek ya Abul Hasnain. هو الخيبر علي أو لحيدر علي. هو الخيبر علي أو لحيدر علي. مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي. مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي، مولى علي.
اسمش دلنشینه ماهبی غرینه. اسمش دلنشینه ماهبی غرینه. زهرا همه هستی امیر المومنین. زهرا همه هستی امیر المومنین. لبهای بی بی خدیجه خندونه. هر فرشته ای امشب غزل خونه. جبرئیل تو بیت تاها مهمون. داره سوره کوثر رو میخونه. داره سوره کوثر رو میخونه. جانم جانم ای مادر سادات. جانم جانم ای مادر سادات. ریحانه طاهاست جان و دل مولاد. ذکر لب هر عاشق یا حضرت زهراست. مدد یا زهرا، مدد یا زهرا. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh, and welcome to Ahakam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now this is a live show. We do take in your questions. If you have any question you'd like to send in, please send them in via the WhatsApp number, should be on the bottom there somewhere in the QR code. You can send it via there. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah the Sheikh and I will be able to discuss and answer them. If you'd like to call into the studio, 0203515099, or alternatively, if you're outside the UK, you can call on the WhatsApp number at the bottom, and we would love to hear from you and inshallah discuss and answer your question. But before we begin, we would like to take the opportunity to congratulate the Imam of our time, may Allah hasten his very parents, and also the Muslim Ummah on this auspicious occasion of the birth of Fatima Zahra, salamu alayha. MashaAllah, Fatima Zahra, salamu alayha, was the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and also known as the mother of A'immah, of the Imams. For all of the Imams, apart from Imam Ali, come from Fatima Zahra, salamu alayha. And it is, I believe, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam that says, we the Imam are the hujjah of Allah and the proof of Allah for the people. But Fatima Zahra, salamu alayha, is the proof of Allah to us, the Imams. Inshallah, to discuss more is Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening, Sheikhna?
Alhamdulillah, bikhair.
Congratulations and Jashan Mabruk on this auspicious occasion of the birth of Fatima Zahra, salamu alayha. And before we begin, please, Sheikh, a few words, any narrations with regards to the occasion of the birth of the Lady of Light, Fatima Zahra, salamu alayha.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. أسعد الله أيامكم. And to especially the Imam of our time, Al-Hujjah, Ajjallah Farajahu Al-Sharif, and to the ulama and to the believing men and women of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam for this great occasion of the birth of the best of the women of the world. I have some hadith with this regard. Inshallah, I'll mention them in a few seconds. But we ask Allah Azza wa Jal initially that grants us the shafa'ah of Fatima alayhi salam, and to also grant us the knowledge, ma'rifat Fatima, to recognize Fatima alayhi salam, because without their ma'rifah we cannot reach those elevated positions to be a true Shia of Ahlul Bayt. Ma'rifah is very important with this regard. So let's start with the first hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And most, if not all of these hadith are mentioned in the Kutub of Ahlul Sunnah. I'm not here to mention and cite the sources, but they're all there. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله إن الله عز وجل Fatima ibnati Fatima. Rasulullah says, Salaamullah alayhi wa sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, that Allah Azza wa Jal, Fatima ibnati Fatima, وولدها ومن أحبه من النار. That Fatima means is to basically remove somebody from some acts. For example, the baby by the 2 years of age, they would prevent him from suckling and breastfeeding. That's called Fatima in Arabic. To remove the baby from the chest of his mother. So no longer he will be having to suckle or to have the breastfeed. So the hadith here says that the Prophet says sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Allah Azza wa Jal, He has basically removed Fatima and her sons from وَمَنْ أَحَبَّهُمْ, and those who love her and love them, from the hellfire. فذلك أو فلذلك سميت فاطمة. That's why she was named Fatima alayhi salam, from Fatima. To remove, yes, to cut off from an act, as I've said, like the breastfeed of the baby when he or she reaches the age of 2. So indeed, Fatima alayhi salam and her sons and their followers, they are cut from the hellfire, to go to the hellfire. Of course, Ahlul Bayt, indeed they are definitely, with their isma and infallibility, they would definitely not go to hellfire. But for their followers, of course, because they follow and believe and recognize Fatima and her sons are hujjah, as hujjah of Allah on the earth, of course they would get this great gift from Fatima alayhi salam that they would not go to the hellfire. And that's why she was named Fatima for this cause. Another hadith again by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he says, خير نساء العالمين أربع. The best of the women of the worlds are four. The best of the women. Number one, Maryam, salamullah alayha, the mother of Isa, Jesus, alayhi salam. Wa Asiya, the wife of Fir'aun, the tyrant. Wa Khadija, salamullah alayha, the true al-Mu'mineen, the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. The third, and of course the best, and the last one, wa Fatima, salamullah alayha. So they are the four best women in paradise and in the world and in the worlds. The other hadith also, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أنزلت آية التطهير في خمسة. The eye of the purification that Allah would purify you with thorough purification. ويطهركم تطهيرا. The Prophet says that it was revealed upon 5 people. فيا, in me, وفي علي والحسن وحسين وفاطمة. That it was revealed on me and Ali and Hassan and Hussein and Fatima salamullah alayhim ajma'in. Specifically, no wives are involved in this ayat tathir. No other sons or siblings in terms of other sons from, let's say, other wives, for example. It's only Muhammad or Ali Muhammad who are purified, thorough purification. Another hadith, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة. That Fatima alayhi salam is the leader of the women of the paradise. So in one hadith we have سيدة نساء العالمين, the leader of the women of the world, of the worlds, plural, يعني عالمين, not just عالم الدنيا, and أهل الجنة as well. So she is the leader of the women ultimately of all worlds, dunya and akhirah. Last hadith, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فاطمة بضعة مني. Fatima is part of me. يؤلمها ما يؤلمني. It would saddens whatever saddens her. ويسرني ما يسرها. It would pleases me whatever pleases her. It would hurts the Prophet whatever hurts Fatima, and it would please Rasulullah whatever pleases Fatima alayhi salam. And this hadith and the like of this hadith is mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari. Imagine that Allah يرضى لرضا فاطمة ويغضب لغضبها. So indeed Ahlul Sunnah, they affirm these hadith in their books. But when it comes to analyzing these hadith with all the occasions and the events that happened after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you'll see that they would step backward, and they don't want to basically confess or say that yes, the Sahaba did something bad against Fatima and her sons eventually. So that's the backward when it comes to to do that confession and i'tiraf for the haqiqah and for the haqq. That you shouldn't be stubborn when it comes to aqeedah. If somebody is wrong, خلاص, they're wrong. Because they are not infallible. There's nobody from the Ahlul Sunnah and Shia who says that Sahaba are infallibles. Impossible. They said none of their khulafa is infallible.
True.
Only we say that Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are infallible. So if they're not infallible, they could eventually commit anything, sins, crimes, whatever. And we saw this in the history, in the time of the battles of Siffin, Jamal and Nahrawan. Yes. Many of the Sahaba committed atrocities, killing each other as a result.
Ahsan, Shaykhna. Just a quick reminder to all our viewers that if you're watching, you can send in your questions via the WhatsApp. The number should be at the bottom somewhere, and there's a QR code that will take you straight to the WhatsApp page. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, please put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah, the technical team will be able to send them to me. You can call in 0203 515 0199 if you're in the UK, and if you're not in the UK, just call us on the WhatsApp number, and inshallah we'll be able to discuss and answer all of your questions. Shaykhna, if one pours water on his face, and I'm talking about when you're doing wudu, let's say he does it once, with the intention that it's the first wash, twice, 3 times, 4 times, let's say up to 10 times, he's washing his face with the intention that this is my first wash. Would the wudu still be valid?
There's no objection with this regard. The wudu is counted as one ghasla or wash. This is the first wash and ghasla. So yeah, even if you pour 10 times on your face with the intention to be one ghasla, that would be counted as one wash, which is sufficient.
Sheikhna, is it okay for those who are not, you say, qualified or don't possess the knowledge to issue fatwa or Islamic rules or even teachings to the public?
Of course, it is forbidden for the one to issue a verdict or a fatwa or a ruling without knowledge. Each field has its own expertise with this regard. Engineers, doctors, nurses, and so forth. And likewise, the deen, al-muddin, and religion must also, as the Quran says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ, ask those who know. We spoke about this hadith a couple of days ago. We have a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that says, "Man afta an-nas bighayri ilmin," the one who issues a verdict or fatwa without knowledge. He's not an expert to give fatwa.
Yes.
But he still says down, this is haram, or this is wajib, or this is halal, without knowledge, without going back to the ulama, without going back to the sunnah, to the Quran, to the hadith, to Ahl Bayt alayhim as-salam. بغير علم لعنته ملائكة السماء والأرض.
Oh wow.
The malaika of the sky and the earth would curse and would send la'na upon this individual who is issuing fatwa and verdicts without knowledge. And from the Quranic verses we have in the chapter 17, verse 36, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, and do not occupy yourself with what you have no knowledge of. Again, the Quran is very clear that you don't have the knowledge in this field, even with regards to other fields. You could kill a patient if you don't have the knowledge.
Yes.
As a doctor, for example.
A surgeon or
exactly, you could kill this individual.
Pharmacist. Yeah.
So when it comes to religion, it's more severe because this is Allah's religion. You're giving a ruling against Allah's rule. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Those who do not rule according to Allah's rulings, they are zalim. So one should be very careful that always ask those who know. Go back to the ulama, go back to Ahl Bayt, the hadith, the Quran, and without knowledge do not give any and don't issue any fatwa. And that's why sometimes we stop on some of the fatwa. We say that we're going to go and do a research because half of the ilm is to say la adri, I don't know. That's part of the ilm, half of the ilm. Because if you say no, I know, but you say that you give the wrong answer, of course, it's something that doesn't please Allah Azza wa Jal.
Sheikh, I've got loads of questions coming in here. This one's from YouTube. In regards to the wudu, Assalamu alaikum. If while doing wudu some water falls into my feet, is wudu still valid? Sheikh, this happens, while you're washing your face and your arms and so forth, you might get some drops on your feet and then you have to perform mas'ah on top. Is that going to be an issue? Does that invalidate the wudu?
What the ulama say that if the amount of wetness is less than what you have in your palm hands, then there's no issue with it. But usually they can wipe their feet just before the masah, just a quick rub, and then you just wipe your feet afterwards.
I tend to easy way is to rub it against your leg, your standing leg.
Exactly.
The top part of your feet, just rub it on the back of your leg. And inshallah it will dry it and you can do your masah properly. From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum Shaykh. What is a good dua we can recite for knowledge?
If you can recite this dua after each salah, it's mentioned in the Mafatih al-Janan, in the beginning section of the book for the Mafatih, Ta'qibat al-Salah, the dua which is recited after the salah, Subhana man la ya'tidi ala ahli mamlakatih, to the end of the dua. It's just a small paragraph of dua that will increase inshallah the memory and the ability to memorize and gain more knowledge inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum Shaykhna. Can we do ghusl for Friday right after the Fajr prayer? So I'm assuming this person is saying, Ghusl Jum'ah, Mustahab Ghusl, very recommended to do. Can I perform it? I wake up for Fajr on Yawm al-Jum'ah. I prayed my Fajr. Can I go and perform Ghusl Jum'ah now, or do I have to wait later on until there's daylight or something?
Yes, the one can do so, but the best time is just before the Adhan al-Dhuhr.
Okay.
Let's say half an hour before Adhan al-Dhuhr. That's the best time, yeah.
Fair enough. Assalamu alaikum. This is from YouTube. Can one pray for something specific, or should it be only for khair? Like praying for a specific job, or specific company, or specific person by name for marriage? Please give reasons.
Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Holy Quran, "Ud'uni astajib lakum." Recite your dua, ask me and I'll answer. So you can ask for anything. It's mentioned somewhere in the narrations that Allah Azza wa Jalla says to Musa alayhi salam, ask me even for the salt, a pinch of salt. Ask me for it, and I'll give it if you don't have it. So we have to ask Allah Azza wa Jal always, because He is the sustainer, He is the Razzaq, and He is the one who would give us the strength to do the ibadah, to do the work, and to live in this world. So always ask Allah for, of course, whatever is halal and permissible.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna.
Salam.
If someone continues to provoke me, insult, and causing particular annoyance, how should I react? It's a very good question, Shaykhna. Let's say sometimes it's done out of fun and banter. Sometimes it's serious. I'm sure, Shaykhna, you've seen on Speaker's Corner. Sometimes, if you go there regularly, the same person is there, and things can get heated and disrespectful and so forth. How, as the Shia of Ahlul Bayt, how should we react?
There are some stages. For example, you can begin with advising them and admonishing them billati hiya ahsan. You start with them by giving them some, let's say, sources from the Quran, from the Hadith, that you have to respect the Muslim, the mu'min. It's haram to insult a mu'min, a Muslim, accuse them, and so forth. And then, if this didn't work, then if you can separate yourself from them, then do so if you can. As you've said, don't go to the corner, Speaker's Corner, for example, every Sunday. Don't go there, khalas. But if it's something to do with your colleagues at work, school, college, university, in which you have to see them every day, of course, the Quran says, وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. If the jahil said to you something bad, say to them salam. Otherwise, ignore them. That's the best way.
Fair enough.
And eventually they will stop and give up, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum from WhatsApp. Hypothetically speaking, if we follow the rule of the marja that we follow and it ended up being something incorrect, will we be punished for it? Shaykh, this happens a lot sometimes, especially with, it happens a lot, it doesn't happen a lot, but it happens a lot with Eid and the day of Eid. We have some maraja that will say, today is not Eid, we're going to do it on tomorrow. Or, we have not seen the moon, or vice versa, or we've seen the moon. And then we get a couple of days later, we find out, oh no, the marja gave the wrong fatwa. Do we get punished for this? What is the punishment for this?
I mean, usually the Shia Maraja would give the days of the Eid or the month Ramadan, either because of there's no moon sighting, they couldn't see the moon, so they would, for example, announce that you have to fast extra day, ikmal al-iddah, as they say, and the like of month of Sha'ban. If they see it, then they will announce that tomorrow's Eid or the first day of the month Ramadan. I haven't witnessed anything wrong from when I started, fasting and since my bulugh. I don't remember that one year we had to give kafara, for example, or redo that last day or first day, for example. That's the thing.
Maybe your marja,
I can't answer now.
Your marja is okay and probably got it right every time, but I'm not going to mention the name of the marja, but there's an office that notoriously gets it wrong, or they've got it wrong 2-3 years in a row, and now people don't even go to that office anymore for that. But Shaykh, the question was actually, if a marja gives the wrong fatwa, or he gives a fatwa, we follow it, and we find out later on it's wrong. Maybe he gave a fatwa that from his evidence you can eat crabs or something, and then later on, oh no, I made a mistake, this fatwa I have to retract. What is the punishment for that? Who gets punished for this?
You see, if he's a just marja', adil, with all the conditions of the marja'iyya, then he wouldn't do such a thing at all. A just marja', a pious marja' wouldn't do such a thing at all. And if there's a mistake, he would announce that you have, for example, you broke your, let's say, your fast on this day, and it should be a fasting day, and announced wrongly. They would usually announce it somehow. So you have to redo this day, for example. So if he's a just marja' adil, you go back to him and ask, what shall I do? You know, I can't give you the hukum. It's to the marja' that you're following now. They have to solve the issue with the situation. That who's gonna pay for, let's say, the kafara, for example? Is it from the marja''s treasury, for example, huquq, or is it from the person himself? So they have to go back to the marja' if they are just.
I see. Assalamu alaikum, this is from WhatsApp. Please, is honey an impurity that if it touches one's body or clothes, it must be washed before performing salah? Thank you.
Honey?
Yes.
Honey is tahir, is not najis. But what we have, etiquettes of the ibadat and salah, is to be in a clean clothes and body, so which is preferred, of course. But what is important, that there's no najasa and impurities on your body. That's the important.
This one's from YouTube, I think. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. I have never done istikhara before. Can I use istikhara apps after doing my niyyah alone?
From what I've read from some of the Maraja opinions, that you can't rely on the apps for the istikhara. Maybe there are some Maraja who might accept it, but in anyhow, the best way is to go back to the traditional way of the istikhara, by the tasbih or the Holy Quran, or the dua which is mentioned in some narrations, that you recite 2 rak'ah salah and then you say astaghfirullah, for example, 7 times, and then you go and do that thing, you know, by relying on Allah Azza wa Jal. So I'm not sure about the apps, to be honest. Yeah.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. If one has a Sunni husband, is tawaf al-nisa compulsory on him?
He's a Shia?
This person is asking is, let's say the person, the wife is Shia, the husband is Sunni. Is tawaf al-nisa mandatory upon him?
You see, Ahlul Sunnah, what they have as alternative to tawaf al-nisa that we have, they have tawaf al-wida'. If he does tawaf al-wida', that suffices for them. But for the Shia, they have tawaf al-nisa. So you have to do it according to the Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam.
I see.
Yeah.
This one is, I'm not sure. Right. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. I'm 24 years old and single, living with parents. My father won't let me go to Karbala for ziyarah and says he is not radi if I go to Karbala. He also won't accept me to do tatbir. Can I disobey him and go to do ziyarah and do tatbir? This person says 24 years old and single. Not sure if it's a female or a male, we don't know. But they want to perform ziyarah, go to Karbala, and they also want to take part in the tatbir ritual. The father's saying no. What can he do in this situation?
Basically, the Holy Quran is very clear that وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, that be good with your parents. When it comes to the haram and shirk and disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jal, فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. The Quran is very clear. Don't obey them. When it comes to haram, to shirk, to kufr, to disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. But when it comes to mustahabbat, one should try to convince them or persuade them somehow that this is ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt. You know, I would rather not going to, let's say, Spain on the beach, Spain for example, or Italy. Maybe I might be committing haram in this age.
Las Vegas.
Why should I would rather go to ziyarah place where it's all halal. You know, hijabi ladies, Islamic atmosphere, adhan 3 times a day, for example, majalis Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So try to use a different way to and method to convince them or to persuade them, let's say, for this purpose.
From YouTube, Shaykhna. Oh, I get this question a lot. Do Shia Muslims believe in tahrif of Quran?
We don't believe at all. Our ulama today, they say that the Quran that is we have today is as it was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam 14th century ago. The issue of tahrif is also within the Ahlul Sunnah as well.
Yes.
that some narrations mentioned about it. That
surah's longer than
one of the
Surah
exactly
Baqarah.
one of the surah was longer than this now.
Surah Baqarah, yeah.
Exactly.
And eaten by a lamb or something, a sheep
Yeah.
ate it or
These
something
are
like that.
opinions by individuals. Even if the Shia have it, it's their opinion. We don't accept
Fair
it.
enough. Can I work as religious studies teacher at a secondary school and teach students about all faiths according to what is written in the UK curriculum? Sheikh, teaching, well, I wouldn't consider it teaching in terms of trying to convert someone, but teaching to inform people to get so they understand different religions. When you go to school and you go to RE classes, they'll teach you about Christianity, they'll teach you about Hinduism, Sikhism, Judaism, Islam, and so forth. Is it okay to teach these different theologies, or for a Muslim, for a Shia Muslim, can they teach these, or do they have, is it strictly forbidden? The only thing we teach is the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
What is mentioned in overall that you can't promote or let's say teach or propagate falsehood, dalal. That's what not allowed. And overall, if it's just, I mean, it depends really how. I don't know about the curriculum and the syllabus of the RE teachings. If it's just general knowledge to the students that this is Islam, this is Christianity, and so forth, it's just a general information. I mean, you could somehow compare those religions. You could somehow tell them this is, let's say, Islam is the last religions and is a religion which of course completed the journey of other prophets and the vicegerents and the holy books. So this is a complete religion. So it's a continuation of what Isa alayhi salam did and what Musa did alayhi salam, and all the way to Adam alayhi salam. So they're all connected and linked, and they're all brothers of each other, as the Prophet said sallallahu alayhi wa about some of the prophets said akhi مثلا akhi Musa. So they're all connected in aqidah and belief, but each has had their own and his own message and time. And what happened that that religion expired, nusakha with another religion, the next religion, which is, for example, Musa or Isa alayhi salam. And then you have the final religion, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So one can try to teach, for example, explain the situation. That would be, I think, useful for the students.
Inshallah. Sheikh, now we have a phone call. Inshallah, we're able to help the viewer with the inquiry. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. I just got to say Mawlud Mubarak before I ask my question. So Mawlud Mubarak to everyone watching.
Assalamu No problem. Mabruk to you too. Please, your question for the Sheikh.
So Sheikh, I have a very weird question. So I wake up one morning and I'm in the state of Janaba, and I have no mandatory prayers at the moment, so I've got time. But I was wondering if it was wajib for me to do my ghusl straight away, or is it okay not to do ghusl for a while until it's needed? And is there any, for example, ishqal or any issues me being in that state while doing certain activities, like for example whether it's eating or walking or doing anything else outside of my wajib prayers?
Ahsan, thank you very much for your question. Inshallah, the Sheikh will answer it now. Sheikhna, being in a state of Janaba, do we need to do ghusl straight away? If not, if we're allowed, some time, let's say he's woken up at 9, 10 o'clock, the dhuhr isn't until 12:15, 12:20, he's got 2 hours or so. Should he go perform ghusl straight away, or is it okay, he doesn't have to, he can go about his work and then perform ghusl later on? And furthermore, if he's in the state of Janaba, is there any acts which he's not allowed to do? For example, can he eat, can he drink, can he walk to the shop or to the post box to put in a letter? What are the restrictions?
And overall, it's not wajib for the individual to hasten in his ghusl. It's not wajib. This message is also mentioned when it comes to the month of Ramadan, that he wakes up, let's say, in the daytime of the month of Ramadan, and he is in that state of Janaba. It's not wajib for him to hasten and to go to straight away, fearing that his soul might become invalid and batil. No, you can take your time. What is important for this ghusl is to be done just to make sure that you can pray within the time, inside the time. So when you wake up, let's say in Fajr time, you go like, let's say, an hour and a half before sunrise. You have to make sure that you have done the ghusl and prayed the wajib prayer before sunrise. And likewise before the sunset and before the midnight for the other salawat. That's the important issue, that you have to make sure that you've prayed. Yes, we have other ahkam with regards to the discouragements or dislikes, makruhat of the mujnib. He can't, it's makruh to eat and drink, for example. Some other acts as well mentioned. So yeah, these are makruhat. But the wajib is when it comes to salah time, that you have to make sure that you pray in time and with purity and ghusl. That's very important.
Is it the same for females as well when they have their cycle, just stay away from certain things and so forth and not be able to pray and things like that?
Also mentioned some makruhat as well, yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, Sheikhna, this one's from YouTube. Do Shia? Okay, we did that one. Assalamu alaikum. I have not been from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I have not been aware of washing my private parts with water before wudu until now. Are all my previous prayers invalid? So I think we call it istinja and so forth. Washing your private parts front and back before you go and perform your wudu. This person hadn't been doing so. Is it mandatory for them to like redo their salah or anything like that?
One of the conditions of salah is to be in purity from any najasa, especially the najasa of the private parts. So if they haven't removed those najasa, of course the one salah would be batil. Now we have to see this happened when they were ignorant in terms of the hukum.
But Sheikhna, technically, whenever we go to the toilet, we perform istinja. We wash our our private parts with water. So we've gone to the toilet, we've washed our private parts with water. It's been like an hour, 2 hours. Salah time's come now. I haven't been to the toilet or anything. Do I have to wash it again, or can I go straight into the wudu?
No, of course you can do the wudu as long as you have purified those parts from any impurities and najasa. Even after 2 or 3 hours, you can go and perform your wudu and pray. That should be fine. The issue is that, as you mentioned, that they haven't done any istinja or purification for their parts when they were in the toilet. One of the conditions of salah that you must be tahir and clean from the impurities and najasa when you stand before Allah Azza wa Jal. That's the issue. But now we have ignorance in hukum, that they're ignorant in the hukum. We have to investigate this, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. And we're going to go to a short break. Join us after the break as we continue our discussion here on Ahakam SOS.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of scholars.
Is it permissible to plant trees by or over
Islam
the
established
graves?
based on peace and
Is it
non-violence?
permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there
countries?
an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on ahkamsos@imamhussein.tv.
Yes, if you have a question, you can send it in via the WhatsApp number. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, please put your questions in the comment section. If you'd like to call us on 0235150199 in the UK. If not, you can call the WhatsApp number, and inshallah you can put your question forward to myself and the Sheikh, and we will discuss and answer your questions. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikh, still loads of more questions coming in, mashallah. And from YouTube, assalamu alaikum. How to know if one should stop praying for something or continue praying for it? Sheikhna, sometimes we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have a dua, and it doesn't get fulfilled. And then you ask again and again and again, and it's been a year, 2 years, months have gone, weeks have gone, sometimes years have gone. Should you stop asking for it? Because maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you it's not for you. Or I've got something better for you. Don't worry about that. Should we stop asking for that, or should we continue to pray? And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you what you're asking for.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Holy Quran states, "Ud'uni astajib lakum." Pray and I will answer your call. and your invocation. So our duty is to ask Allah Azza wa Jal, to pray and ask for our hajat, dunya and akhirah. And Allah Azza wa Jal would answer us, maybe in this dunya, if not for the hereafter. In some narrations that some of the ad'iyah or hajat would not be answered or given in this world, but Allah Azza wa Jal would keep this hajah of dua for the hereafter, in which we will be in need of it on that day, the resurrection and the Qiyamah day, in which we will be in need of those hajat to be fulfilled there rather than this dunya. So our duty is to pray to Allah Azza wa Jal for any hajat we need, and Allah is the one who is the wise, and He would answer our call, be it now or in a couple of days or months or years even. And he sees whatever suits this individual, or if not, then in the hereafter.
Ahsantum. Sheikhna, this question here is from YouTube. If a woman was on her cycle after adhan time but she has not prayed yet, does she have to make up the prayer as qadha or not? Example, dhuhr is at 12 noon and her monthly cycle started at 2 p.m. but she had not prayed the dhuhr prayer yet. From YouTube. So Sheikhna, if a lady, the adhan came and it's been very short, it's been like an hour, 2 hours, she didn't perform the salah, but then her cycle started, does she have to perform the qadha of that dhuhr and asr?
As you know that the ladies don't have to do any qadha for their salawat, but rather for the siyam that they've missed during those days. But we have to see, inshallah, after we check for this mas'ala, because she might have to do qadha. Because it was in the time when she was clean and clear from this issue. We'll check, inshallah.
Okay, from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. If a woman is in her hayd but she has a habit of making ghusl Jum'ah and wants to for the thawab of it, even while in hayd, if she does the ghusl, would she get the thawab for it?
إنما الأعمال بالنيات, the amal is with accordance to the niyyah. That's very important. إنما الأعمال بالنيات ولكل امرئ ما نوى.
What is the hukum if I start praying then realize that I have a leather wallet in my pocket which is not tahir? Do I have to break my salah? Do I have to repeat my salah? This is from YouTube.
Just remove it from the salah. According to some opinions, just remove that leather made from
item and continue praying.
Animal,
from YouTube, what is the hukum? Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Do we have any book is 100% authentic after the Holy Quran? i.e. books like Najm al-Balagha, is it 100% authentic?
You see, even though with regards to some of these books mentioned, some ulama would have issues with some of the narrated in those books. So we don't have sahih like the non-Shia have, a sahih book from cover to cover, except the Holy Quran, Kitabullah Azza wa Jal. Others, of course, we have authenticated or most sahih. For example, in overall, some ulama would mention that, this book is very authenticated in terms of the sanad, in terms of the chain of narrators, and in terms of the meanings of the hadith. In overall, the Quran is the only book in which we can trust 100% without any issues. Others come under the scrutiny of the ulama's research, every hadith.
Sheikhna, is it permissible to use parts of najis animals such as pigs for the treatment of the sick?
Yeah, there's no objection. One can use them, for example, as they say, for external use only, on the skin, for example. But you have to make sure that you wash it for the purpose of salah, because now it became najis. So you have to wash it for to be pure for the salah.
Sheikhna, if one wets his hand palm and wipes it over his face and hands, and the amount of wetness is such that a small amount of water would run down his face or hands when he wipes his hand, can we consider this as face washing in wudu?
Yes, indeed, and that should be sufficient, because what we need is to achieve the meaning of ghasl. فَغَسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ. To wash the face, and a bit of drips of water, that would give the meanings of washing. And فَمْسَحُوا is to wipe. It's just to wipe. You don't have to wash it.
Sheikhna, I've heard stories, certain maraja performing wudu with small cups of water, Even I've seen some saying you can use the cap of a bottle. That's all the water you need for one wipe of the face or one wipe of the arm and so forth. So, you know, they would use basically one cup of water, face, one cap, right arm, one cap, left arm, and mas'ah. Is this acceptable? Is this okay? Or is that not enough water? Is it considered washing because the water is so little? But there is wetness. You can see, you can feel the wetness.
You see, you have to achieve the subject of washing. فَغْسِلُوا. That's important. And of course, as I've said, and as you've said with the question asked, that drops of water are pouring from the face. That should achieve the title of, or the subject of ghasl and washing. That's important.
I see. Sheikh, if there's a significant gap between the events of wudu, such that if one were to wash or wipe the following part, those previously washed or wiped had dried up, would this wudu be still valid?
No, of course, the wudu would be batil in this case and invalid, because you left too much gap in which other parts of the wudu became fully dry. Let's say you're washing your left arm and your face and arm, your right arm all became dry because of the, let's say, delay in performing the sequence of the, tartib and the sequence of the amal al-wudu. In this case, the wudu would be batil. You have to repeat it again.
Assalamu alaikum. Can one begin for the first time doing taqleed of a deceased marja?
No, it's not permissible. One should basically start his taqleed with a living marja. If the living marja gave the fatwa that you can remain with your previous and old and deceased marja, then you can remain with the fatwa of the the previous marja who passed away recently, for example. And for any new cases and rules, you would go back to the new marja. We have many people who, for example, follow Ayatollah Khoi, and they now follow Ayatollah Sistani, for example. Some would follow Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Shirazi, the late, and they follow also Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi. So that's the case, that you have to ask the permission, or just look at the fatwa of your marja. If they allow, then you can remain on the fatwa of the past marja, and of course you have to go back to the new marja for your new masail.
Questions from our viewers from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. Why is Abu Fadil Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam not an imam?
This is Allah's choice.
Ahsan.
Allah Azza wa Jalla, with His wisdom, He chose the best of the best of the blessed of the creation, and they are Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad sallallahu alayhim. They became the apparent and the manifestation of Allah's greatness on earth. So it's Allah's choice, and it's the readiness that they said in the beginning in the Alim al-Dhar, Bala. They are the first individual who said Bala, and they've exceeded everyone in this case.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. I want to ask if it's okay to be buried with a box in Islam. Traditionally, there was no coffins used to bury people. You wrap up the mayyat and you place the mayyat down, and it's like a tomb, isn't it? And then they bury you like that. So, Shaykhna, coffins, are they allowed in Islam?
It seems to me they're allowing now some maraja' with this regard. We have some brothers who passed away, especially in COVID time in the UK. They were buried with the coffin. So yeah.
Shaykhna, we've got probably time for one or two more questions, and if you could answer them quickly, we'd appreciate that. If someone starts a prayer, Asr prayer, 1 minute before sunset and is in the midst of prayer when the sun time comes, is it still valid?
In terms of the Asr prayer, you see that the given time for Asr is the last 3-4 minutes. That's the Asr time. The situation is very awkward. We have to see if it's because has he finished, for example, the first rak'ah within that minute, and when he started the second rak'ah, the sun was set, for example. So we have to see.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum. Can angels, jinn and God speak to us? Someone was asked a question about a dua they made while listening to the Quran. Does this happen a lot?
That the angels speak to the human beings?
Yeah, angels, jinn, God, do they speak to us?
Usually this happened in the past with the prophets and their vicegerents and somehow. You know, Musa Kalimullah, the one who spoke to Allah Azza wa Jal.
To the burning bush.
Fatima alayhi salam, she was muhaddatha. The malaika spoke to her, for example. The Holy Prophet, you know, the wahi was upon him in terms of the revelation and so forth. So for others, non-infallible, you know, the fallible or let's say salihin, we have to see if there's a proof, and we have to see the evidence.
Sure, I think we've got time for maybe one more. Does my hair have to be completely dry before salah?
As long as the wetness of your is it for wudu or for salah? It depends really. If it's for wudu, then you have to make sure that the wetness in your palm hand is more than your head. So when you wipe your let's say your hand over your head, then of course this should be more than the wetness of your hair and your feet as well. That's the condition. Otherwise you can pray while let's say your hair is wet, for example. It's not a condition for the salah.
That's all we have time for, Sheikhna. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the viewers for joining us on this episode of Ahakam SOS. If we didn't answer your question, we do apologize, because today we've been very, very busy. But those will be rolled over to next episode, which will be not this Wednesday, but the following Monday next week, inshallah. In the meantime, please send us your questions. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, just send them on the WhatsApp number, should be there below somewhere. And inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer your questions on the next episode, Monday, 7 p.m. here on Imam Hussein TV 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
أنا المقاد لأمره أجد النوال ببحره أجد النوال ببحره أنا روحي علي ودليلي علي أنا روحي علي ودليلي علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي. When I see your shrine I know that I'm home. You're the king of the kings, Najaf's your throne. When I see your shrine I know that I'm home. You're the king of kings, Najaf's your throne. With you by my side I'm never alone. With you by my side I'm never alone. Walk القرآن علي ما يأذن علي. Walk القرآن علي ما يأذن علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي أنا حبي علي غرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولاي وروحي ومهجتي لك كيف أوصف لوعتي مولاي وروحي ومهجتي لك كيف أوصف لوعتي أفهل رضيت بحسرتي أفهل رضيت بحسرتي حسراتي علي عبراتي علي حسراتي علي عبراتي علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي. All our hearts your love struggle to contain, to describe your worth words can't explain. All our hearts your love struggle to contain, to describe your worth words can't explain. Your mercy we seek يا أبا الحسنين your mercy we seek يا أبا الحسنين. هو الخيبر علي يوني حيدر علي هو الخيبر علي يوني حيدر علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي مولى علي.
اسمش للمشينة موهبي غرينة اسمش للمشينة موهبي غرينة زهراها محسي يا أمير المؤمنين زهراها محسي يا أمير المؤمنين. لمحای بیبی خدیجه خندونه هر فرشته شب غزل خونه جبرئیل تو بیت تاها مهمون آره سوره کوثر رو میخون آره سوره کوثر رو میخونه. جانم جانم ای مادر سادات جانم جانم ای مادر سادات ریحانه طاهاست جانم دل مولاد ذکر لب هر عاشق یا حضرت زهراست مدد یا زهرا مدد یا زهرا.
أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء.
يا محمد نادى من حت الباري ليك ولقد أنزلنا كوثر بين يديك يا مختار. فاطمة ضوى الدار وبفضلها أسرار شغلة البرية. هاي الليلة كانها ليلة قدر تنزل منازل فاطم كنزول الذكر، أحمد بيها عالبشر يفتخر، فرحة وضحكة حتى طلوع الفجر.
أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء، أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء.
هل أميرا خلقت بيد الله السماء، والأميرة بكيفها تصنع ما تشاء، من الأسماء صار اسمها زهراء، من ألفها للياء طاهرة ونقية. هالتفاحة بصلب أحمد صفت، ولدت رحمة دنيا بيها اكتفت، أهلا فاطمة يا ربنا اهتفت، قاعد شرفت والسما تشرفت.
أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء، أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء.
يا خديجة مبارك عندك العيد، فاطمة ودين الله هي سر الوحيد، قبس نور لا بشر ولا حور، كل شي يمها مأمور، والأميرة هي رحمة كانت تحدثك عالمة، تآنس قلبك بالحكي فاطمة. هاي الليلة بالضوء قادمة، كلمك فاطم للنبي تكلمه.
أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء، أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء.
يا خديجة ببيتك رحمة الله تكون، من ضواها الزاهر تخشي حتى العيون، ولا كان منها طول الأزمان سر وجود الأكوان. فاطمة الزكية مريم تعجز توصل لها الفضل، سارة وهاجر واسية ما تصل، ما شبهوها لا بعد لا قبل، هاي الزهرة تبقى أصل الأصل.
أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء، أذن بالجنان جبريل أذان يا زهراء.
سيدة طاهرة رازية مرزية، سيدة طاهرة رازية مرزية.
हर एक मातमी के लबों पर दुआ है, दरे सैयदा पर, दरे सैयदा पर।
हर एक मातमी के लबों पर दुआ है, दरे सैयदा पर, दरे सैयदा पर। हर एक मातमी के लबों पर दुआ है, दरे सैयदा पर, दरे सैयदा पर।
वो जो मांगते हैं उन्हें मिल रहा है,
दरे सैयदा पर, दरे सैयदा पर। हर एक मातमी के लबों पर दुआ है, दरे सैयदा पर, दरे सैयदा पर।
अदब और ताज़ीम की हद है देखो, ये फिजा से सुन लो ज़माने के लोगों, कि जिब्रील भी सर झुकाए खड़ा है।
दरे सैयदा पर, दरे सैयदा पर। हर एक मातमी کے لبوں پر دعا ہے. درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر
وہی کلمہ حق ہمیں بھی ہے پڑھنا. ایک نور مولا علی اور زہرا، ستارے نے آ کر یہ کلمہ پڑھا ہے.
درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر ہر ایک ماتمی کے لبوں پر دعا ہے. درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر
کبھی بھی نہ دنیا کے آگے جھکے گا، یہ اونچا رہے گا اٹھا ہی رہے گا. یہ سر میں نے جب سے جھکایا ہوا ہے.
درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر ہر ایک ماتمی کے لبوں پر دعا ہے. درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر
یہ در ہی تو علم و سخاوت کا در ہے، بڑا معتبر ہے، یہ سب کو خبر ہے. جو مانگا تھا رب سے ہمیں وہ ملا ہے.
درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر ہر ایک ماتمی کے لبوں پر دعا ہے. درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر
فرشتہ جو دنیا کو دیتا ہے روٹی، قسم سیدہ کی قسم مرتضیٰ کی، وہ اپنے لیے روٹی لینے چلا ہے.
درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر ہر ایک ماتمی کے لبوں پر دعا ہے. درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر
کریم ارسلان آزمی سر اٹھاؤ، نہ تم خوف کھاؤ، زمانے سے کہہ دو عزادار ہے، اپنا رتبہ بڑا ہے.
درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر ہر ایک ماتمی کے لبوں پر دعا ہے. درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر درے سیدہ پر
علي عالي على كل عالي، علي آية وعلي راية، علي أول علي التالي، علي أول علي التالي، علي مولا علي 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 مولا 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 علي جنة حياتي، علي فوزي ونجاتي، علي بعيني وشراييني، علي كل منهاتي، علي كل منهاتي، علي هو الوسيلة، علي ماكو مثيله، علي يسري بوقت عسري، علي حامي دخيله، علي مولا علي 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 مولا 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 علي said in defiance, Ali's name is triumphant, Ali is gold, Ali we hold, Ali the roaring lion, Ali, the roaring lion. Ali is carved perfection, Ali, the throne's inscription. Ali is hope, Allah's tightrope. Ali is our salvation. Ali Mawla, Ali, Ali, Ali Mawla, Ali Mawla, Ali, Ali, Ali Mawla, Ali Mawla, Ali, Ali, Ali Mawla, Ali Mawla, Ali, Ali, Ali Mawla. علي بيده مصيري، علي ساكن ضميري، علي حاكم وانا خادم، علي هو اميري، علي هو اميري، علي الرفعه بخدمته، علي دمي مزجته، علي جنة ونعم منا، علي للشيعة جنة. علي مولا، علي 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 مولا، علي مولا، علي 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 مولا، علي مولا، علي 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 مولا، علي مولا، علي 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 مولا. Ali is love's infection, Ali the sun's reflection, Ali is growth, Ali is oath, Ali is resurrection, Ali is resurrection, Ali we cannot exchange, Ali's fury love remains, Ali is breath, Ali is death, Ali pumping through my veins. Ali Mawla, Ali, Ali, Ali Mawla, Ali Mawla, Ali, Ali, Ali Mawla, Ali Mawla, Ali, Ali, Ali Mawla, Ali Mawla, Ali, Ali, Ali Mawla. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي، مولى علي مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي، مولى علي مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي، مولى علي مولى علي، مولى علي مولى علي. On the love of your light when I was raised, I was born in your name, I heard praise. On the love of your light when I was raised, I was born in your name, I heard praise. In Ghadir, my heart for you was safe. In Ghadir, my heart for you was safe. From my father Ali and my mother Ali, from my father Ali and my mother Ali. Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali, Mawla Ali. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي، مولى علي مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي، مولى علي مولى علي، مولى علي مولى علي. أنا لا أبوح بسره وأنا المقاد لأمره، أنا لا أبوح بسره وأنا المقاد لأمره. أجد النوال ببحره، أجد النوال ببحره. أنا روحي علي ودليلي علي، أنا روحي علي ودليلي علي. مولى علي مولى علي، مولى علي مولى علي. علي وغرامي علي، مولى علي مولى علي. أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي، مولى علي مولى علي، مولى علي مولى علي. When I see your shrine I know that I'm home. You're the king of kings, Najaf's your throne. When I see your shrine, I know that I'm home. You're the king of kings, Najaf's your throne. With you by my side, I'm never alone. With you by my side, I'm never alone. Walk القرآن علي ما يأذن علي. Walk القرآن علي ما يأذن علي. مولا علي مولا علي مولا علي مولا علي. أنا حبي علي غرامي علي مولا علي مولا علي. أنا حبي علي غرامي علي مولا علي مولا علي مولا علي مولا علي. مولاي وروحي ومهجتي لك